All right, so we're trying Crow Lake Trail, Way Trail today. The first fairly large section of the trail's been washed out by flooding of Minor Creek. So there isn't really a trail on the front end. I'm gonna actually head up to the left of where the trail used to be and just try to connect onto an undamaged portion of the trail. So we'll see how it goes. And at 3/10 of a mile from just walking up from the trailhead, head onto the trail. And it looks like they might be working a new one in that way, so I'm going to try that on the way out. The burn from that Norse Peak Wilderness fire a few years ago, and there's tons of potential blowdowns. I would not come through here on a windy day. I wouldn't want to pitch a tent in here. I'd be nervous. So I think you have to keep your eye open for potential falls, even if it's not windy. A lot of these are pretty precarious. So we're about 1.6 miles in. It's been steady up so far. And to the right of the trail or up in front, as you hike up, you see Fife's Peak. So pretty good views of Fife's Peak coming up. Definitely a steady climb. I'm probably running at just over 2 miles an hour, so about a mile an hour slower than what I do on rolling terrain. So definitely a steady up, probably moderate to difficult for most people. Probably not a trail to break your teeth on. Pretty good views though. So we're at the 2.1 mile mark. We're coming up on a really great overlook. The lone tree on the end of the point. Check that out. Looking down at the American River from up above. Out towards Chinook Pass that way. 2.1 mile mark. Here we're at the 2.7 mile mark. Another nice Vista Point. And you can look all the way down to the American River in the bottom. And a little bit of Rainier poking up to say hi. So it was a solid 2.8 mile climb. We're finally to a point where even though we're going up, I don't feel like it's a climb anymore. A little bit more open. Walking. Pretty nice up here. So that bottom was just decimated by fire. There's hardly any green at all. It's always amazing to me how fire spreads out in fingers, and you'll have spots where trees like this have not even been touched by flame right next to a tree that was burned right to the ground by flame, and they can be adjacent to each other, and you're left wondering how the other trees escaped it. Like this guy burned all the way up, and right next to him is a tree that didn't get touched, and they're essentially touching each other. So always interesting. The fire just spreads out in fingers. So 4.3 miles in. It's 2 p.m. Gonna go ahead and call it a wrap. The trail into Crow Lake is gonna go up and over that ridge over there. At 4.3 miles, when I'm looking at the map, I feel like there's a another 5 miles to the lake. So I think it's between 9 and 10 miles. The All Trails post I looked at, the mileage in there said it was 13 miles round trip. I'm thinking that's off. I think it's going to be closer to 18 round trip. So need to get a little bit earlier start to be able to pull the whole thing off. So we're gonna have to come back and try this one again. Probably a late June attempt. Give time for the rest of the snow to melt off. It's beautiful up here, so it's definitely worth it. Hard work. To this point, I've been climbing the entire way. We're almost to 6,200 feet now. It's been a steady uphill climb. Gonna have to come back and try again. So 8.6 miles and about 3,000 feet of elevation gain. The Crow Creek Trail, or Crow Creek Way Trail, is definitely not in the bag. It did not make it to Crow Creek Lake or Crow Lake, which I wanted to do. The All Trails app put the mileage round trip at around 13, a little over 13. When I got into the 4.3 mile mark, looking at the USGS topo map, it looked like I had at least 5 miles left to go, which was going to put the round trip distance in the 18 to 20 mile neighborhood. So this is one you'd have to get an earlier start to complete it. So we'll have to come back later and do that. You're hiking through the burned out area from that Norse Peak wilderness fire, what, 3 years ago now, 2-3 years ago. So lots of blowdowns, lots of potential blowdowns. If you came through here on a windy day, you'd be crazy, probably dead. So you got to keep your eye open for trees that look like they're going to fall. Over the first 4.3 miles, it was 3,000 feet of elevation gain, so really significant, moderate to difficult depending on your physical conditioning, and definitely not kid-friendly. Take them to Pleasant Valley and take a flat hike along the creek. No water, so once you get off the trailhead over that 4.3 mile stretch, there was no water sources that I could identify. So you need to bring 2 liters, and I'd say that there's significant exposure to the sun because a lot of the trees are denuded because of the forest fire. So even though you're in the forest, there's not a lot of shade. So this is one where I was glad I put on sunscreen before I headed in. It was definitely needed. So Crow Creek Way Trail, not in the bag. But I got outside, and so should you.